Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the ORT Esports Cup here in the season opener for Tier 2. My name is Ivan Brim. I'm going to be taking you through the action here, as always, on a Friday evening. Of course, round number 1 sees us heading to the circuit Barcelona, Catalonia. First appeared on the F1 calendar back in 1991. Of course, the 4.6 kilometer circuit in length. It's going to be a interesting one, especially with the new final sector being a lot wider going into turn 10 on approach. So that's definitely going to make overtaking opportunities there a bit more spicy and a bit more doable. And of course, the layout also going back to the old original layout that we had back in the Michael Schumacher days, where there's no chicane anymore. So that's going to take away a bit of the aspect from previous games onto this iteration. But yeah, 2 DRS zones, 1 down the start finish straight down in towards turn number 1, and of course 1 coming through the top of the hill through turn 9 and running down into turn number 10. Of course, they're going to be providing the 2 most likely overtaking action that we're going to see on track. Of course, looking at the teams that are, of course, going to be racing here in the ORT Esports Cup here in Tier 2. In the Mercedes, we have ERO. Obviously, ERO did get 11th in the qualifying, so they definitely look like the team to beat, an early favourites potentially there, as they look to really stamp their authority in the Mercedes. So we're going to be seeing how they go from there. In the Red Bull, we have the PAFR team. So in the Red Bulls, PAFR, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. IRT Academy is in the Scuderia Ferrari. And of course, IRT doing very well on this game, I must say. Big improvements from previous games moving into this one. So IRT definitely going to be ones to keep an eye out on. In the McLarens, we have RDR, of course, Red Dragon Racing. Of course, it is my team, but I will be completely unbiased about it. But they are in the McLarens, the RDR boys. PTR in the Alpines. That is going to be another interesting one. A team that I don't know too much of, don't know anything about. The same with PAFR, to be fair. I don't know much about these 2 teams. And of course, the next team, obviously, Stride Esports in the Aston Martin. Again, don't know much about them, so it's going to be interesting. And oh my god, the heavens have opened. It is raining here in a qualifying in Spain. So that is going to throw a very interesting dynamic here in the session. Obviously, TFR in the Alpha Tauri. So again, another team that I don't know too much about, and that's going to be the thing. Obviously, I'm going to be learning as everyone else is. Obviously, a lot of teams that I'm very unfamiliar with, I'm going to be able to learn at the same time as you guys. As yeah, they're in the AlphaTauris, TFR. Then we got Exosteer Esports. I don't know if I've absolutely butchered that. I do apologise if I have butchered it, but Exosteer Esports in the Alfa Romeo. So going to be interesting to see how they get on. RVL Esports in the Haas F1 cars. Another team that I am a little bit more familiar with, RVL. I have commentated on a couple of the drivers in a different event, so I am a little bit familiar with them. And MZPN in the Williams. So of course they are the 10 teams that are going to be racing here in tonight. Of course, we are missing 1 driver as I quickly scan through just to see who we are missing. We got both McLarens, we got both AlphaTauris, we got both Aston Martins, we have both Alfa Romeos, both Williamses are here, which is good as well. Victor Manu out there on an outlap right now. I believe he could be the furthest along on his outlap, so yeah, he is. So we'll stay on board with Victor, as he'll be the first one to get us underway here in qualifying. Both Alpines are here, both Ferraris are here. only one Red Bull, so we are missing one of the drivers from PAFR. So that is where the missing driver is at. Hopefully he will be able to get back in as quickly as possible. Of course, intermediate tyre is going to be on all the cars out there. As you can tell, it is absolutely chucking it down. It is raining. ORT David in the chat saying hello, my friend. Hello, hello. How are you doing on this fine Friday evening? As Victor's going to get us underway here for a flying lap of the circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, as we run down now in towards turn number 1. This will normally be with DRS, but running down into turn 1, breaking at the 100-meter board down into 3rd gear, getting the car rotated through turns 1 and 2. Absolutely lovely. Short shifting into 4th and 5th as we go through the never-ending right-hander of turn 3. Short shifting again up into 6th and into 7th. First sector split of a 23.7 as we go through turn number 4. A bit of a snap at the rear there for Victor. As you can see, he's fighting the car through the corner as we approach turn number 5. Getting a good exit out of there, but revving the gears as we go through the little kink of turn 6 now into turn 7 and the right-hander of turn 8. We could be seeing some invalidations there, but we could also be seeing a lot of spinners there as we go through the right-hander of turn 9, and this would be the next DRS zone down in towards turn number 10. Breaking down, of course, the track a bit wider than previously on previous F1 games as we climb up the hill now through 11 and through turn 12. Now into the penultimate corner of turn 13. And oh, big snap at the rear for Victor. Got a little bit too much onto the throttle, and that is going to hinder him as he comes to the final corner, crosses the line. It's a 1:21.4 to get us underway in this session, as I believe we have a Haas coming in behind, but of course a Haas is just starting an out lap, and yeah, it was Fayak in the Aston Martin crossing the line with a 22.4, so a second between the drivers thus far. We're starting to get times coming in thick and fast. We got Trib just getting himself underway. Fernando Uni, as I believe he invalidated his first run because he has used a lot of VRS, and that is not what he would like to see. Kamado for RVL looks purple in the first sector. Didn't quite see what the first sector split was, but again we're starting to get times coming in. Drofter's coming through with a 21.9, Trib coming through with a 22.3, so early times coming in. We have a Mercedes coming through the final corner for the ERO team as Viz there puts it on provisional pole with a 21.2 there for the ERO team, and that is going to be interesting to see if that time's going to get beaten. Of course, the session, we would assume the lap times will get quicker in the session, but you never know with the weather conditions. It could get worse, it could get better, so you don't know. Mark crosses the line there for IRT. Goes, I mean, he goes P6, but that is 20 seconds off, so definitely had an off moment somewhere. Bit of a madness going on in the middle sector. Coming into the final sector, obviously the Aston Martin and the McLaren. I believe the Aston Martin of Fiat as PTR Tino goes into P6 because he's just been knocked down by his teammate Marco up into P3. The Johnny Damon goes up into P6. So starting to get lap times coming in now as we got an Alpha Tauri coming to the line, and that is going to be Wim to the line. Is he going to be able to get himself up there? He goes up into P3, the Alpha Tauri man. Wim for, of course, TFR. Going to be putting himself up there in the mix towards the front end. We got Nick out there, he's off track. Marco wasn't able to get a good lap on the board. We got 3 drivers still in the pits of Hervia, Fernando Uni, and of course EXT Lewis in the Alfa Romeo. So we've had the first runs coming through. ERO look like they're in business in terms of qualifying times. As of course Viz is up there in provisional pole on a 21.2, 2 tenths clear of Victor in second place. and his teammate is currently in P5, and looks like he's going again for another run, so we'll see how he gets on there. Obviously both RDR boys, both in the 21s, doing good, as there goes Marco up in the provisional pole, so showing some fight. The Alpine driver doing well there for PTR, getting himself on the provisional pole, as I look to see if we got anyone coming to the end on a fast lap. Viz looks like he's on a cool down lap. Wim looks like I don't think he's pushing for a second lap, but he might be pushing now to go on to a second lap. We got Tino out there on a lap as well. We've got a car in front of him getting out of his way, as I believe that was Marco going up into P7. Tib crossing the line, getting himself going. Kamado is down on his lap time. We got Thiak 10 seconds off of his time, as we got Mark now, IRT Mark coming to the line. He was up in the middle sector, but he's not going to set a lap time, which is unfortunate. Yaya coming through the first sector, marginally up in the first sector, currently down in P15. RVL going to be looking to try and get themselves up the order as best as possible here, and try and get them into the mix. That's what Yaya is going to be doing. So we'll stay on board with Yaya, as we got numerous times beginning to come in once again from these drivers, as Johnny Damon and Drofter so both improve on their time. Drofter's going up into P2. Johnny Damon goes up into P8. Improvement to a 21.5 for the Johnny Damon. Drofter's improvement to a 21.1, less than a tenth between. So yeah, and that is a big impact here for the RVL driver. We stayed on board with him. Unfortunately, I think that was just a bit too much pressure. Vliz is coming through the final sector. He was nearly 4 attempts up in the middle sector. So we're going to see what this could be. This could definitely be in the 1 minute 20s as he crosses the line now. And it's going to be a 1 minute 20.7, half a second improvement for the ERO driver, going himself up back into provisional pole position, as Marco is currently on an invalid run. We got about 8 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the session. Looks like the track is getting better as the driver's getting more accustomed to these conditions. We got Victor coming through the final corner as Marco goes up. Actually, not Marco. Fernando goes up into P2. There were 20.8, so big improvements there from the Williams driver representing MZPN here tonight. Of course, his teammate Victor currently in P5, and it's looking like early shouts early on for competitive teams that will be fighting at the top. It looks like the Mercedes pairing of the ERO team, and of course the Williams pairing of MZPN. Obviously you got a nice little battle brewing between RDR and of course PTR, the Alpines and the McLarens, because where it's looking right now, obviously, Marco in P3, Drofters in P4, and then both of their teammates in P8 and 9. We do have the Alpha Tauri of Wim also on a lap, as Victor still marginally up on his time. Can he find anything through the final sector, though? That's going to be the question. And that's what he'll want to find big time in the final sector. Currently, it's not enough to get him ahead of Drofters, but a good final sector could get him ahead of Drofters and maybe even Marco as well. As he comes to the line, Victor is going to cross and goes up into P4, so he does get ahead of the McLaren, the RDR driver, and he goes up into P4. Got Tino, who's out there on a lap. Big snap of oversteer coming through the penultimate corner there for PRT Tino, but is he going to improve on his time? No, that snap has absolutely cost him. EXT currently down in P11. It's going to be interesting to see if the EXT driver can get himself up the order. Remember, currently in P11 on a 21.9. nearly 800 hundredths of a second up in Sector 1. Needs to find more time to get himself up the order. Realistically, he needs to find a good 4 attempts improvement just to get himself into the mix. But as it currently stands, it's just not going his way as the back end is stepping out for him. And he's a little bit all over the place. IRT and Mark currently in P12. And of course, Mark, a very good driver, very capable driver is Mark. So I'm expecting Mark to just improve consistently over the course of the session. As we'll see more laps coming in. Obviously, just under 6 minutes to go in the session. Plenty of time out there for these drivers. Of course, Mark on the 5-lap-old intermediates. If he is still finding time, then fair play, but it doesn't look like he's finding time, so maybe time to come back in, chuck on a fresh set of boots, as his teammate is currently out there, and I believe possibly going to be going on a flying lap. In fact, no, not his teammate, obviously Havara coming back into the pits, I should say, and yeah, out there as well. Kamado currently in P16, he's out there on the lap. Tib is around and in the wall, was purple in the first sector. Whether that's purple for the whole session, I'm not sure. Marco also in the wall for the Aston Martin team of course, Stride Esports. Johnny Damon about to get himself underway on a lap. He's currently down in P10. He's been knocked down. Nick improved and got himself up into P6. So pressure's on now for these guys in the top 10 to really solidify their position. So we're actually going to stay on board with the Johnny Damon as he comes through turn 3 now. And let's see if he's got any time here in Sector 1. He does have a Haas up ahead of him on track. And it is a good 74 thousandths of a second up for the Johnny Damon in Sector 1. Needs to find more time though through 2 and 3 if he wants to solidify a top 10 here in qualifying. His teammate is currently up there in P5 and he is approaching that Haas. I'm not sure if the Haas is on a lap or not. If the Haas is on a lap, he's not on a very competitive one because he is getting caught by the Johnny Damon. Sector 2 split. Let's see what he's saying. 3 attempts improvement in Sector 2. This is better from the Johnny Damon. Big snap though through turn 10, but able to keep it together as the Johnny Damon now coming through the final sector, now through the penultimate corner. Needs to make sure that he doesn't lose the back end here as he comes to the line. Did that snap lose him any time as we cross, and it's going to be, yeah, he did lose a bit of time, but he does improve up in the P6 with a 21.3. His teammate also about to get himself underway. We'll come back on board with him later in the session. Fernando is on a cooldown lap as Boo there for ERO improves and puts himself onto the front row. Tib is disqualified from the session, unfortunately for the AlphaTauri, for the TFR driver. He is out of this session and will be starting from the back of the grid. Boo there with a fantastic improvement on his lap time. Marco in Sector 1. We're trying to go on board with a driver that is going to be setting the times alight. Obviously Drofter is 2 tenths down in Sector 1, so it's not looking good for him. Yaya just crossed the line. Whether he just finished the lap, I'm not entirely sure. Kamado 2 seconds down on his lap time. These conditions are getting a little bit tricky. Fiat 2 tenths up in Sector 1. We'll actually come back on board with him in just a moment. I kind of want to see if we're going to get improvements on these guys up here towards the front. Marco for PTR in the middle sector, 2.5 tenths down. As yeah, it looks like Fernando also quite some way down on his lap. Viz half a second off his Sector 1 split, so looking good for him. Drofter also looks like he's made a mistake and he's going to be going again. Johnny Damon is going for another run, and we're going to see if that's going to work out for him. Nick in the Ferrari is going to get himself going as well. We've got Wim coming out of the pits right now in the AlphaTauri. He's trying to get himself going. We've got Tino currently down in P10. First sector split, a 10.5 improvement. That's good. Good improvement so far from the PTR driver. Needs to get himself up the order as soon as possible. Question is whether or not he will be getting there. Obviously, in terms of the chat, I'll turn my attention back to the chat right now as we're on board with Tino. We got the European Racing Organisation, obviously ERO, in the chat saying hello, and hello, how are you doing this evening? As, oh my god, yeah, the drivers need to be a little bit, getting out of the way a little bit better, get away from the racing line there. Tino possibly getting a little bit put off into that. We got Racer obviously showing support to his RDR teammate saying, let's go RDR. And of course, I've got to be biased in the commentary, but also I as the owner of RDR, I do have that same sentiment as what Racer is saying, but I will be impartial, as a good commentator should be. Text to the line, and there's no improvement there from the Alfa Romeo, the EXT driver. We got Kamado, he's a 10th up in Sector 1. We'll come back on board with him later in the session. Are we seeing any improvements coming through? Nick there with a 20.3. That is a big lap time from the IRT Academy driver. Fernando up in the P2 crossing the line. Viz is currently marginally down in the middle sector, so it's looking like if he can find all of his time in the final sector, he should theoretically be okay, but as it currently stands, he's not improving enough to get himself up the order, and he'll cross the line. He does improve by about half a tenth, but both ERO drivers are out of the session. We've got Marco on a lap right now. Drofters of the round and in the wall on the exit of turn 4. Johnny Damon is about a tenth and a bit down on his time. Yaya is out of his lap. Marco, I believe, Mark improved, got himself up in the P10 there for IRT. That is something that we did miss. Of course, Marco is not improving on his lap time. Johnny Damon, he's coming to the line. He's still pushing, so we'll see if he does find time in the final sector to at least improve marginally. It is an improvement, but it's not enough to get him up any positions. Tino is not improving. Fiat through the final sector now. And of course Marco, we'll actually go on board with Marco because he's going to be the first one to cross the line. He goes up ahead of his teammate. Fiat 4 tenths up in the middle sector, will theoretically be the last man to cross the lap with a valid time, and he goes up into P11. Obviously Drofters spent on his lap, so he's not improving, and of course Nick has crossed the line. So that is going to bring an end to qualifying here in Spain for round number 1 in the ORT Esports Cup for Tier 2. It is Nick for IRT Academy taking pole position, the first pole position of the season. So we'll run you through the order. It is Nick on pole position for IRT Academy. He takes pole position by just under a tenth of a second. Fernando Uni in second place joins him on the front row for the Williams team of MZPN. Obviously, we got the ERO pairing filling out the second row with Viz and Bu in there. Then, of course, we got PTR. I'm Marco in P5 with Victor in P6. It's an all RDR fourth row with Drofters and the Johnny Damon. They're going to be lining up there in P7 and 8. Yaya and Mark round out the top 10. And outside the top 10, we have Fiak, Wim, Tino, Marco, Lewis, Kamado, Tex, Havina and Tib going to be rounding out the back of the grid. So it's an interesting one because obviously PAFR are down the driver. Obviously they are the Red Bull team. Of course they are only one driver here tonight representing them, so they are at a disadvantage. Tib getting disqualified in that session is obviously going to hinder his chances, and it's going to be an intriguing race, let's say. And obviously this track known for its trickiness on the softer compound of tyres, but in this game it has gone a bit better. I mean, we are seeing soft tyres hold on a bit longer than what we have seen in previous game cycles, so we could potentially see some Red Bull soft tyres coming out, or we could be seeing the box standard hards, medium, or medium hards, and obviously the strategies will vary, but everyone has a plethora of fresh compound tyres to choose from, so no one's going to be an advantage or disadvantage in terms of the wear on their tyres. It's just whether they're going to go for a softer compound, whether they're going to go for the mediums, or whether they're going to go for the hards. We are still waiting right now for these drivers to select their strategy. So of course we'll have a little look at the circuit Barcelona Catalonia once again. Of course 14 corners around this 4.6 kilometer circuit, 2 DRS zones, one down the start finish straight in towards turn number 1, and of course one on the exit of turn 9 running down in towards turn 10. Key overtaking opportunities is of course going to be down in towards turn 1, into turn 4, turn 5, and of course turn 10. It's going to be intriguing to see if we're going to see a lot of side-by-side action. Of course, drivers usually when they race each other for the first time, it's a little bit of a getting to know you process. It's going to be a little bit of, okay, how can I race with you? How do you like to drive? You like to drive that way? Fantastic. I like to drive this way. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be a little bit of a nod right now to see what these drivers are going to be all about out there on track. A lot of new faces that I am not familiar with, but I look forward to getting to know these teams and the drivers going to be representing them in this ORT Esports Cup season. So yeah, we are still waiting to get underway in the session, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but yep, here we go now to those 5 red lights. Lights are out and we are underway here for round number 1 in the ORT Esports Cup Tier 2, and looks like a very good start there from the ERO driver as Viz gets up into P2, looking around the outside for P1. Meanwhile, in the background, as Mark gets himself up ahead of Fiak, and in fact Tino dropping down the order slightly, getting a little bit swamped there as back up towards the front, as you see Viz on a set of the soft compound tyres, trying to get those tyres into a good window immediately. He's now side by side. It was almost 3 wide there with his teammate and Victor in the mix. As Viz going to be able to hold on. Marco on the back of these two as Victor and Boo side by side. There's a little bit of contact there. Johnny Damon unfortunately just a little bit off the back of that, so wasn't going to be collected in that. Of course, that is the issue early on when big lunge down the inside from Boo, and that could that actually has worked out well for the ERO driver. A big old lunge down the inside, and obviously side by side action between Victor and Boo as they come through the penultimate corner, and of course Boo will have to settle down, but he now has Marco, the PTR driver, all over the back of him as Viz gets back through on Fernando Uni. Of course, he got off to a better start, but those soft tyres, they will fall away towards... Well, I believe they'll fall away at around lap 7, I want to say. And Marco there with a beautiful switchback on Boo, and he's going to have the inside line for turn 4. The Alpine is going to send it down the inside, but Boo is going to be able to hold it around the outside. He'll have the inside for now, turn 5. As Marco is going to try and hang it around. That is a Haas around of Yaya. Yaya is around at the back on the set of the hard compound tyres, not going well for him. Meanwhile, you've got Tino on those soft tyres getting through on the Johnny Damon there for P8. Those soft tyres working to perfection right now, but the Johnny Damon going to try and send it back down the inside. Didn't commit to it though, so he stays in P8. The top 4 have pulled away because, of course, Boo and Marco have been fighting. So a gap has now formed. The top 4 are going to be able to pull away. And, of course, with DRS, it's going to be easier for these guys to pull away as Viz gets through up into the race lead as Havana is out of this race through the final corner. And that has triggered a full course safety car here at the end of lap 2. So let's have a look at the position changes. Obviously, Viz up 2 spots. Nick and Fernando down 1. Victor up 2 spots with Boo and Marco both down 1. Tino up 6 positions here for PTR. A fantastic start from him on those soft tyres. And he'll actually be able to, jump in and get rid of them. If he wants to get rid of them, he might prefer to stick on those tyres for the time being. But Johnny Damon's been able to hold position on those medium compound tyres. And of course, Drofter's on a set of the hard compound tyres has lost 2 positions, obviously, to Tino and the Johnny Damon. So he is on a set of hards, currently down in P9. Lewis up 5 positions off the start. A good start there for the EXT driver. IRT Mark losing out on 1 position, obviously dropping down from 10th to 11th there. Wim has managed to hold on to his position at the start. Marco is up 1 spot. Kamado up 2 spots. Tex is up 2 spots. Thiak is down 5. Tib is up 2 from the back of the grid. And the biggest loser so far is, of course, Yaya, who is down 9 positions. Of course, a lot of drivers out there not going to want to change their strategy this early on in the race. So an early safety car coming out. We're not seeing much call to come into the pits. Obviously, Marco in, Kamado in, Texas in. And, of course, we had the incidents from Thiak, Tib and Yaya being the reason why these 3 drivers have come into the pits. In terms of the way things are going with regards to the team side of things, obviously, I have yet to actually run you through the point system. So actually allow me to run you through the point system thus far as we'll go on board with the race leader Viz here for ERO. So first place in this race takes home 30 points for his team. Second place will bring home 25 points. There'll be 20 points for the final spot on the podium. 18 points for P4, 16 points for P5, 14 for P6, 13 for P7. P8 will get 12, P9 11, and P10 will get 10 points, and it will go down 1 all the way to the last point paying position in P19, which will be the final point. And P20, obviously, we don't have 20 drivers here tonight, obviously with the Red Bulls not fielding a full team here, but 20th place does not get a point, but there is a point for pole position and fastest lap. So IRT Academy already have a point in the bag with Nick's pole position. So IRT Academy getting a point on the board early on here in round number 1 at the first attempt. But Viz is currently the man leading the way for ERO. So it's going to be interesting when those soft tyres actually go off. He's going to be able to prolong them for a little bit longer, but it's going to be interesting. Same for Tino as well. Tino's had a fantastic start to this race, and it's going to be intriguing. Obviously, hard runners. So Drofter is going to be going deep into this race, as is Wim. So their tyres are not going to really come into effect till around, let's say, lap 14-ish, where their tyres will really take over now with the safety car being out. So it's going to be a few laps before we see the likes of Drofters and Wim get themselves up the orders. Marco also on the set of hards now, and so is Kamado. It's going to be interesting to see if they can take those tyres all the way to the end, or whether they'll need to make another pit stop. Obviously, everyone on the medium, some Fiak, Tib, Tex, and definitely Yaya on those softs, they will definitely need to be making another pit stop. Safety car should be in at the end of this lap, though, so we'll go on board with Nick. And Nick has to be alert now. Alert to when Viz goes, because he does not want to get caught napping. Not at all. Not on this restart. The IRT man versus the ERO man for the race lead. Medium tyres versus the soft tyres, as we wait for the safety car to make its way back into the pit. So Viz will be the pace setter, the virtual Burt Milder, as Tex gets a 5-second time penalty for collision with Kamado at the back, but we're staying on board with the front. Waiting for Viz to go, and it looks like he has gone right there, and then Nick is wise to it. Fernando also wise to it. These guys have not been caught napping. Marco on the back of Boo as well. He's on it. And we're going to see if we're going to see any moves down in towards turn number 1. Fernando on the back of Nick, not making any moves, but look at that. Marco having a little look on Boo there for P5, and his teammate Tino on those soft tyres is right in the mix as well. Meanwhile, you got Lewis looking at the back of Drofters, the mediums versus the hard compound tyres, and this is the issue of starting on the hards. You are going to be slower early on. As look at that, Marco, he is trying to get way through. Absolute lovely switchback there from PTR. Marco up into P5 goes the PTR driver. Absolutely fantastic. As we got support in the chat for RVL saying Forza RVL in the chat. Of course, it's not going too well for the drivers so far. Kamado and Yaya down in 16th and 17th as it currently stands, but Kamado on those hard tyres, if they can go to the distance, he might not need to pit again, but Yaya definitely needs to pit again from those soft tyres. As we begin lap number 7, looking for a driver that looks like he could be on a move, and this man, Wim, in the AlphaTauri, closing up to the back of the IRT Academy driver of Mark. Gonna look to the inside and turn 1 up ahead. You're seeing Lewis and Drofter side by side through turn 1, as well as Wim and Mark still side by side coming through turn 3, and Wim is going to get himself up the order into P11. But all that battling has dropped them outside that 1 second window. 2 Drofters up ahead. And of course, Drofters being the lead hard compound runner is going to come into effect at some point in this race when the hards will become the better tyre. The soft tyres, though, I'm not sure how much left they have before they begin to fall away. I know the mediums, you probably got another 6-7 laps on the mediums before they really begin to start to fall away, but as it currently stands, it doesn't look too bad for these guys momentarily, as you got Lewis getting onto the back of the Johnny Damon now. Obviously the gap around about 9/10 of a second to Tino up ahead, and obviously now it's over a second, and with DRS now enabled this lap, Lewis going to be looking to get through on the Johnny Damon. You're using his ERS. Up ahead we saw a little bit of a look as Lewis will try and sail it around the outside. Contact there, and the Johnny Damon is around. It had to happen. 2 into 1 through that corner. You have to leave the space for both drivers, and unfortunately there just wasn't enough space for the pair of them to go through, and the Johnny Damon goes around. But obviously with that happening, Drofter is now outside that 1 second on Lewis, so Drofters is going to begin to fall away now with the DRS being active. So his hard tyre strategy isn't going to be prudent right now, because the guys up ahead of him are just going to pull away with DRS now. However, the Williams pairing of Fernando and Victor, currently P3 and P4, is looking good for them. Of course, Williams being represented by MZPN here tonight. And also up ahead, look at that, a change for the race lead as Nick gets back through on Viz there, the ERO driver. So Viz back up into the race, Nick back into the race lead. Viz demoted down to P2. And are we going to begin to see these soft tyres fall away? That is going to be the big question now, as Nick, you would think at this point in the race, should have the grip to really pull away. In terms of the ERS usage, everyone is pretty even on the ERS. Wim, currently on 60%, is looking good. His teammate in behind, though, has had to use quite a bit, so he's hoping he can stay with Wim here to make sure that he can continue to benefit of DRS, as Victor and I'm Marco, they going side by side through turn 10. Victor holding on for P4 right now, as Marco bit more confident through the final corner, and that is a second safety car here in this race. Lap 10, the safety car comes out for a second time, and now we should be seeing everyone come into the pits. Even if you're on a set of the mediums, I would assume that you'd be into the pits this lap. Yeah, in the pits, Mark in the pits, Fiak in the pits, the Johnny Damon in the pits, Texas should be in the pits as well, I believe, at the end of this lap. So we'll have to wait and see. The race leaders definitely should come in and check on the set of the hard tyres, but this throws an interesting dynamic to Drofters and Wim. What do these two do now? Here's lap 10 of 33. Do you risk medium tyres right now? Or do you think, let's go take the mediums to around lap, let's say around about lap 25 and check on the set of the softs? Like, what strategies do we go for here? As is going to be the question, and we're going to wait to see what everyone is going to decide. The top 8 should definitely come in for a set of the hard compound tyres. That is almost a guarantee right now. So here we go. Yep, Nick into the pits, Viz into the pits. The Williams are going to have to double stack, and I believe Boo and Viz. In fact, Boo holding up the pack to make sure he doesn't double stack with his teammate, and he gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. I'm not sure whether that was because of the little contact between Tino in the back, but yeah, obviously everyone coming into the pits right now. Obviously it's going to be mixing up the order. Drofters does come in for a set of the medium compound tyres, and he does jump himself ahead of Boo and Victor, so the double stack for these two drivers really hurting them. Tino also had the double stack. Wim comes out in P12, once again held slightly in the pit lane. So in that exchange, yeah, Boo and Victor, obviously, and Tino dropping down the positions here. We are a third of the way through this race. The top 2 didn't make the pit stop. So Tib and Kamado did not make a pit stop under the safety car. So they are out of sync with the rest of the grid as it currently stands. 8-lap-old mediums for Tib and Kamado, and 7-lap-old hard tyres. If I was these two, I'd be in the pits. I mean, if you're Tib, chuck on a set of the hards, go to the end of the race. If you're Kamado, bolt on a set of mediums, and if another safety car comes out late into the race, then you have a set of mediums there that's not going to be worn that much, and you'll easily get to the end of the race doing medium. But yep, Tib into the pits. Actually, no, Tib stays out. Tried to bait Kamado into the pits, so interesting call now with what's going on, because these two have decided to stay out. They're on old tyres here, so they aren't going to have the same pace as these guys in behind. This is going to be very intriguing. Boo with our 5-second time penalty. I'm not sure whether that's because of the little contact he had with Tino on the entry into the pits, but if that resulted in him getting the speeding penalty, maybe that little tap just knocked him over the pit lane limit, but that will be discussed at the end of the race, that is for sure. I can guarantee that if Boo gets to the end and doesn't make a pit stop and serve that penalty, I believe he'll try to get rid of it. We have 16 people in the chat right now. We're on lap 12 of 33. Let me know in the chat, what is your guys' predictions? Who is going to be taking victory in this race? Nick has shown great pace so far, so has Viz, but they've been on different tyres. Fernando is showing that he's up there. Marco has made his way through and got himself up into the mix. Lewis has also climbed up a fair few positions. Droftas was out of sync with everyone on the hard tyres. He's now on mediums and also going to be out of sync as well. Once again, safety car is in this lap. Let me know in the chat your predictions. Who is going to be taking victory here tonight? As we wait for Tib to get us underway, of course, he is the man controlling the pace, and he has gone. And Nick isn't sleeping on the restart. He is getting himself going, and Wim has lost it on the restart. And Wim falling well down the order, and that is not good for him. Boo managed to get through on Droftas on the restart, and so is Victor. So Droftas having a horrible restart there as Nick gets through on Kamado. Up into P2 goes the oh my god, has he got an illegal overtake? He's got an illegal overtake. Nick's got an illegal overtake. He's had to let people back through. Nick had to let Kamado back through there, and because of that he's been overtaken by Viz, Fernando and Marco, and now Kamado into the back of Nick, and Nick is around. Boo now side by side with Droftas down the inside in towards turn 7. A little bit of contact there between the pair of them. As I get the audio glitch, and I can't stand this audio glitch when you go on board with a car and it comes up with that horrible noise. I'm sure everyone feels my pain with that. Of course, Droftas now trying to go around the outside of Boo on those medium compound tyres. He should have the grip to get through on Boo, and if I'm Boo, I'm actually letting Droftas go and see if I can stay with Droftas to tow myself onto the back of Lewis, because at the front Tib is causing a bit of a train. He's been overtaken now by Viz. Fernando getting through as well. So both of these guys going to go through and into their fight for the lead. As oh, is that, yeah, that's Tib off, and fortunately he is ghosted. That is one thing I'm going to say. Fortunately, Tib is ghosted as he came back onto the track there, but contact there, I'm not sure what contact started there. I saw a little bit of contact with Marco and of course with Lewis as well. I'm not sure which contact was the one that began that absolute kerfuffle there through turn 3. Kamado is falling down the order now on those hard tyres. Obviously Tib well down the order now, and yeah, there's Wim around once again. It's not been a good restart for Wim. The Johnny Damon getting through on Yaya, perhaps around the outside. Meanwhile, in front of him, you can see Mark and Kamado going side by side with each other. And oh, that is Kamado around, and he is gone. And Boo setting the fastest lap of the race there for the ERO team, as the Johnny Damon trying to have a look at the back of Yaya, because Yaya and Mark are also on the set of the mediums. So it's gonna be an interesting one, that I can assure you. The top 4 have broken away. You got Droftas on the back of Boo, and obviously Victor on the back of Droftas. These 3 are in a bit of a train themselves. You got Tino, who is in a bit of a no man's land. He's out of DRS range on Victor, but he's also out of DRS range on Mark in behind him. Mark is under pressure from Yaya, from Damon, and of course our former race leader, the pole sitter, Nick, now in behind the Johnny Damon. And Nick, I think, should be able to get through on these guys ahead of him. His teammate's not going to put up a fight on Nick, so it's a case of if Nick's going to be able to get the move done in towards turn 1. We'll stay on board with Nick to see if he is going to be able to get the move done as we go through the final corner. Look how much speed he's carrying through there compared to the Johnny Damon on his ERS. And it also looks like the Johnny Damon's also using the ERS, but he's going to the inside to defend. Nick will have to go the long way around the outside, and it's wheel-to-wheel contact, but this time Johnny Damon unfortunately doesn't get tagged around there. Of course, earlier on in the race That didn't work too well for the Johnny Damon, being able to go side by side with a car through turns 1 and 2. But Nick and the Johnny Damon going through there and showing that it can be done, which is good driving from the pair of them. Mark is falling away from Tino just a little bit more. Yaya now really beginning to ramp up the pressure. Tino is falling further away from Victor, Drofters and Boo. And Boo is steadily closing in on Lewis. Let's not forget that, as Fiak is around at the back. The ORT Esports driver is around again. It's not been a good day so far if you're a fan of TFR and Stride, both the Alpha Tauris and the Aston Martins down there at the back. And of course, if you're a fan of PAFR, it's also not a good day for them either, with only one driver turning up tonight and being the only DNF in the race thus far. As Fernando gets through up into the race lead, you got Marco on the back of Viz now, and it looks like it's a virtual safety car here on lap 17. So the race will get neutralised under virtual safety car, and Fernando able to get that move done just in time before the safety car, virtual safety car, came out to play. And this could be crucial for the likes of Boo, Drofters and Victor. A good restart. A good restart from these three. They could find themselves back onto the back of Lewis here. So DRS is now enabled again. No speeding penalties, fortunately, as the Johnny Damon gets a great restart on Yaya. Yaya getting absolutely swamped on the restart. He's been overtaken by the Johnny Damon, and Nick was on the back. And Viz is going down the order. Viz is around through turn 10. The ERO driver dropping down the order. Now he's out of DRS range on Victor. Drofters has dropped a little bit away from Boo. Is that potential damage on Drofter's car? I'm not sure. Or maybe he's just caught napping with that incident and just caught being a little bit too cautious. Victor gets through and up into P5. So Drofter's now back down to P6. Viz has to come back through these guys to get back to the position where he was at. The Johnny Damon gets overtaken by Yaya again down the inside in towards turn 1. So the Johnny Damon drops back down to P11. Yaya back through and up into the top 10 once again. RVL driver getting the move done and making up for that virtual safety car restart where he just got caught napping by the Johnny Damon. Meanwhile, at the front, obviously Marco was lost out to Lewis as well. Let's not forget about that. EXT Lewis is currently up in P2, and it's been a great performance from Lewis. I mean, I believe he qualified at the tail end of the top 10, and actually I think he might have qualified outside the top 10. Let's have a little gander here and see. Yeah, Lewis qualified P15. And he's currently up there in P2, so he's had a great race so far as Lewis. Definitely an early vote for driver of the day as he looks to take the race lead for the first time as he goes down the inside, gets it done before the break-in into turn 1, and up into the race lead goes Lewis. Viz getting through on Drofters, and I'm beginning to wonder now if those medium tyres are beginning to fall away from Drofters. Tino is doing well to get himself back up as Marco gets through on Fernando up into P2, goes to PTR driver in the Alpine. And it's an interesting one as hang on, what happened to Yaya? Yaya at one point was here battling with Johnny Damon and Nick, and he has absolutely fallen away. As was it a contact? Did he lose it on his own? I'm not sure. But yeah, Yaya now dropping down to P13. And honestly, not good for the RVL team. Obviously, both drivers in P13 and 14. Yaya on the set of the mediums and Kamado on 15 lap old hards. He has the oldest aged hard tyres on the grid, does Kamado. So in terms of the hard runners, he's going to be worse off, and he is considerably some way off of the back of where he needs to be, as Lewis there goes a little bit deep through turn 1, has to take the exit, and That is going to lose him a handful of places as he gets overtaken by Marco, Fernando and Boo, and he drops back into P4 as it's a Haas around at the back again. And we got Victor now getting into the DRS range of Lewis. Lewis is dropping away from Boo, so interesting. I think Lewis may have picked up just a slight bit of damage here. So maybe side by side with Marco into turn 1, maybe a little bit of contact, and that's chipped away a bit of his front wing. And that is not good for Lewis. He's under serious pressure now from Victor. Victor's going to try and make this move stick as he'll go around the outside. And contact between the pair of them. Victor getting a little bit out of shape, and with that, does Lewis come into the pits? Yep, Lewis is in. Lewis comes into the pit, so confirming that there was damage there on that Alfa Romeo. As on the back now, you've got Viz looking for an overtake on Victor in towards P4, down into turn 1. Gets the move done. Up into P4 goes Viz. And that is good going there. As Drofter's able to get through as well. Victor having a big moment. Not sure if he got onto the curbs or whether there was contact there from behind, but Victor there getting a little bit out of shape and dropping down behind both Drofters and Tino here. As the game has officially bugged out for me, as it's put the Johnny Damon down towards the back, and I'm not sure. I didn't see the Johnny Damon leave the session, so we'll have to wait and see when he crosses the line if that fixes itself. But he's currently just ahead of the two Ferraris. Currently in P8 is the Johnny Damon, so bear in mind that is a glitch. And there we go. Yep, back up into P8 goes the Johnny Damon as Nick gets through on his teammate. In fact, his teammate's actually fighting him. Mark, I would let Nick go right now, mate. I would absolutely let Nick go. Nick has the pace and can go to the end of the race on these tyres, so definitely the smarter team choice to let Nick go and charge after these guys up ahead. As Fernando and I'm Marco there, side by side, looking to get moves done. Drofter's getting through on Viz with DRS, and Drofter's now up into P4. Remember, Boo with that 5-second time penalty. He is under threat from these guys in behind. Victor also only just about a second off the back of this train, and he should just about get within it now. As Drofter's on the mediums, now going to be leading the train. As a look at this, Tino and Viz side by side coming through turn 5, and Viz able to hold off there, but they can't afford to battle and let Drofter's get away on those mediums. They can't afford to do that. But I mean, Tino wants to be that first man. He wants to be that guy going for the P4 on Drofters before Viz. So they are going to battle. Obviously, Viz is going to squeeze Tino off track there, going through turn 10. And obviously the gap is around 9 tenths. It is a second now. But we've seen Viz is run through the final sector. Does he have DRS? I don't think he does. No, he doesn't. So Viz is going to be a sitting duck here, as Tino and Victor potentially could make a double overtake on Viz here. Tino up into P5, Victor into P6, Viz goes down to P7. So, these guys free wide momentarily. Tino getting a little bit out of shit on the exit of turn 2. Victor having a look. And now these guys are falling away from Drofter. So this is exactly what Drofter's needed, but not what these guys need. Not what Tino needs. Not what Victor needs. Not what Viz needs. As once again, Tino able to hold off and actually gets a little bit of a poor run. So a switchback comes through from Victor. Victor going to get through up into P5 now. But look at the time they have lost to Drofters up ahead. It's 1.8 the gap now. As Tino is going to sit behind Victor this time. So not going to go for a move into turn 10. Of course, the Williams driven by the MZPN driver. And that is, of course, Victor. Obviously, PTR in the Alpines of Tino. And, of course, the ERO driver of Viz in P7 in a train right now. Scrapping for positions as their teammates, obviously Tino and Victor's teammates, battling for the race lead. And look at that. Fernando there, squeeze off track there from Marco as they run through turn 2 and now running through down in towards turn 4. No one going for a move thus far. Drofter is still doing a good job in P4. See, with these guys battling in behind, it's allowed Drofter to pull a gap and get away, and he's not really losing time to these guys in front of him. So the medium tyres are still working okay for Drofters, and it's still going decently well thus far, as yeah, the Johnny Damon has actually dropped quite some way back off the back of the 2 Ferraris, and he's under pressure now from EXT Tex, who is trying to get his way up into the top 10. Both IRT Academy drivers line the stern in 8th and 9th. Obviously, Nick was the man who got pole position early on in qualifying, and he definitely has the pace. And that's the Johnny Damon off track, and he was under pressure from Tex. Was that contact, or was it just getting a bit greedy on the curb? That is a question that we won't find out the answer to, but Johnny Damon losing out big time there, and a lot of positions as Fernando and Marco and Boo there scrapping it out for the race lead. Obviously Fernando now getting away from these guys as Boo and Marco side by side in towards turn 4. Boo down the inside, he'll at the outside now for turn 5, and he's actually going to go for a switchback here. Going to try and get the better run out of turn 5, but unable to do so, and this is actually allowing Drofters to close in slightly. Obviously Drofters is closing in. The Johnny Damon coming into the pits and chucking on a set of the soft compound tyres. He's going to be overtaken by the Aston Martin of Marco. So in fact no, he'll get out ahead of Marco, so he comes out in P15. Of course there is a point for the fastest lap, so it's not a bad shout if you know, your race is going bad to strap on a set of the soft tyres and go for fastest lap towards the end of this race. We're on lap 25 of 33. Fernando currently leading this race ahead of I'm Marco in P2. Boo currently in P3 with a 5-second time penalty. Whether that will get removed or not remains to be seen. Of course, there was a little bit of contact on the back between Tino and Boo going into the pits under the second safety car, which of course the speeding penalty came after that. Obviously Mark now coming in and getting a 5-second time penalty as well. He's going to bolt on the set of the soft tyres. He should come out, I want to say he should be out ahead of Tib, but you never know. But yeah, I mean, I think he will. He'll be out ahead of Tib, absolutely. So Mark will come out in P11. So he loses 2 positions by coming into the pit, so it's not bad for Mark, but obviously with that 5-second time penalty, it means that if Wim and Tex do take their tyres all the way to the end, it will be a case of that 5-second coming into play. Now, however, lap 26 of 33, I'm beginning to think now these medium tyres are going to fall away now. And Drofters is falling away from Boo and falling back towards Victor. So, in my opinion, the medium tyres are beginning to drop off. For me, they're gone. And yet, Drofters losing out massively. What's going on there with Drofters? I'm looking around for a punch out because there's no... Honestly, he's lost it coming through the final corner. I think he's lost it in the final corner. Yeah, he absolutely has lost it in the final corner, and he's dropped now back behind the three-man train of Tino, Victor, and Viz here. So Drofter is having a mistake there in the final corner, dropping back down into P7. He is on 16 lap old medium, same as Tino. We're on lap 27 of 33. I don't know if these medium tyres are going to go to the end. Like, that's my honest opinion. I do not know if they'll go to the end. If they do, it's going to be close. In terms of the battles now, we're not really seeing much in terms of battles apart from the battle for P4 and of course the battle for the race lead, which obviously we're going to prioritise the race lead battle. But of course Marco not close enough to make a move. Meanwhile Victor for P4 is close enough to make a move, and he is going to go down the inside of Tino, and up into P4 goes Victor. As this is going to get through on Tino as well. Tino's around. Contact there, and Tino is around, and he'll be overtaken by Nick as well. He will be able to get going before Tex gets onto the back rim, but yeah, absolute calamity right there as Tino is around, and it's a free position for Nick. Obviously, Nick being able to get himself back up into P7. It's been a great recovery drive from Nick since his early incident, his early escapades, as Boo gets through on Marco. What we are waiting to see now is a big freeway fight for this race win. I think Boo will absolutely try to win this out on track, because there's a possibility he could get that 5-second removed. There is a possibility. Of course, he did get hit in the back from, I believe it was, top of my head, it was, Tino. And that little tap in the back from Tino on the pit entry, if that was enough to knock him over the line, over the limit, then that penalty would be removed. So Boo definitely going to be fighting this out, absolutely. And of course, if you're Fernando, you want to battle Boo, you want to back it up, because you can see that Victor is about 6 seconds off the back of these guys. So if I'm Fernando, I'm trying to make sure that Boo does not get a podium and make sure my teammate does. So that's what we're going to see, right? You're going to have Marco, who just wants to take the race win for PTR. You're going to have Fernando, who's going to be obviously wanting to take the win for the MZPN team. And of course, you've got Boo, who is in a position right now where there is a 5-second time penalty in play currently, but it could be removed by the stewards after this race. So we have no idea whether it will or not, but Boo's going to try and win this out on track. And for Fernando, if that time penalty does not get removed, he wants to make sure that that time penalty puts his teammate Victor on the podium, as Fernando gets back into the race lead. Marco's going to settle down for P3, and Boo obviously will be in P2. As it currently stands, the team that's going to be taking the most points out of this race will, of course, be the MZPN team, with Fernando currently winning and Victor being in P4. Obviously, I believe even with that time penalty applied, what's called the ERO team will be outscoring the PTR team currently, and then actually I think then obviously PTR will be the next point, scoring the most points next, and then I believe it'll be the Ferraris of the IRT Academy team with a P7 and P10 position respectfully. Obviously RDR then will be currently in P5. Of course, the Johnny Damon on the back of Lewis for P12, that will help him. Of course, with Mark as well, having a time penalty and under pressure from Wim as well. That's going to be a hindrance for Mark later in this race, but it's going to be close between IRT and RDR in terms of the points after this race. Obviously, as it currently stands, I think IRT ahead on points currently, but obviously with if Damon can get through on Lewis and Wim Jameson's Tib is out of this race. Is that going to bring out a late safety car here? We're on lap 31 of 33 for the leaders, and yeah, it's not going to be a safety car. And Mark, is that a reset on track? I just saw. I did see that dot reset on track. I'm not sure if that's within the rules, as Johnny Damon gets squeezed out there by Lewis through turns 1 and 2. Of course, these guys are now in position to possibly be able to catch Mark in terms of time penalties. So that's going to be an interesting thing. Back up towards the front. Lap 31 of 33. Fernando still leads this race. Boo in second. Marco in P3. Marco now absolutely pushing his car to the fullest. and he's going to try and go for a move, but Boo's going to get into the race lead. Marco has to settle in for P3 for the time being. Meanwhile, in behind, you got Viz on the back of Victor. No wanting to risk a move. You got Drofters just sitting there waiting as well. Obviously, he's on 21 lap old mediums. I'm not expecting them to have the grip to really mount the overtake, but you never know. You never know. It could be an issue where it's just DRS being extremely powerful and working in Drofter's favour. Lewis picks up a 3-second time penalty, and of course he is quite considerably now down the order. And Ferrari of Mark has actually no, that's Nick. That's Nick. Nick has gone round. Nick has lost a huge amount of time here, and Nick falling down the order. Obviously, Wim is going to close up quite considerably. Obviously, he's not going to be close enough to overtake Nick, but Nick has lost out to Tino and to Texture. So P7 and P8 both getting through on the IRT Academy driver as we look to begin the final lap of this race. The battle for the race lead is on as it's going to be 3 wide running down in towards turn 1. Contact between them as they approach turn 1. But look at that, Fernando, Marco and Boo, as Fernando gets a 3-second time penalty for what's called for the track limit extension. But absolute elbows out between those three on the run down in towards turn number 1. Obviously, I think Fernando will probably be putting that in to be removed as well, as long as he doesn't pick up another warning. But one more opportunity in towards turn 10. Will Marco, Boo and Fernando get through there without hindering each other? Boo is falling away. Mark is out of this race, so the IRT Academy driver is going to be out of this race. Fernando has got through without being overtaken in the back. Look at that, Victor and Viz scrapping it out for P4. You got Drofters in the mix as well. He's in position to possibly take advantage of this if there's any calamities in front of him. But it is going to be Fernando who takes the win ahead of Marco. And obviously Fernando will drop down to P2 with that time penalty. Viz will come home in P4 right behind his teammate Victor in P5. Drofters will come home in P6. Tino will come through in P7. Tex will come across the line in P8, but he will be losing that to Nick. So Nick will get a P8 out of this as he crosses the line. Yep, there we go. Up into P8 goes the Ferrari. Wim will cross the line in P10. And of course, we'll have the Johnny Damon come through in P11. So, Yaya crosses the line in P12. Lewis will come through in P13 unless the penalties dropping behind Marco there for P14. But we'll have to wait and see as these guys come through the final sector for the final time in this race. Lewis will cross the line in P13. Will he stay there though? As Marco will cross the line now. And yeah, Lewis will stay P13. Marco into P14. Camado will cross the line and take the final position, the final point paying position. And I will quickly do as much math as I possibly can here to give you guys an idea of who is currently in the lead, obviously before stewarding and everything takes place. But of course, before that, we will of course go to the podium celebrations here from the three drivers, Fernando, Boo, and of course I'm Marco there on the podium. Marco on the top step. Will he stay on the top step? I don't know. I think it's a provisional right now because obviously turn 1, Fernando I think got the 3-second having to take avoiding action. So whether that will stay, I'm not entirely sure, but for right now it is Marco who is going to take the first race win of the season here, and he'll be joined on the podium with of course Fernando and Boo. So we'll run you through the order one more time. It is of course Marco taking win ahead of Fernando, Boo in P3, And of course we got Viz in P4, Victor in P5 with Droftus in P6, P7 goes to Tino, and Nick in comes on in P8, Tex in P9, and of course Wim rounding out the top 10. And outside of the top 10 we got the Johnny Damon, RVL Yaya, then we got EXT Lewis with the fastest lap as well, so that's an extra point for EXT there in P13, Marco in P14, and Kamado comes through in P50. Our non-finishers were of course IRT Mark, Tib, Thiak, and of course Hivinya. But we'll run you through the points paying positions now, so let me just have a quick gander. So I mean currently Marco and Tino with a P1 and P7, obviously that is a 43 points that they currently have. Obviously P2 and P5 for Fernando and Victor. So P2, P5, that is 41 points. And then of course P3, P4, 38 points for ERO. So there's only a handful of points between the top three teams as it currently stands. Obviously, Stewart's inquiry is pending. Believe then it'll be RDR with 23 points of obviously dropped us in P6, and of course Johnny Damon down in P11, so that will be a 23 points for them. Nick, I believe, will be obviously he'll pick up the pole position point as well. So IRT Academy currently sitting on 13 points, and then I believe they will be behind. They will be behind the Alfa Romeo of the EXT team, obviously at P9 and P13. So 11, 18 points for them, and obviously 19 for the fastest lap. So yeah, AlphaTauri's coming through in P10, and of course that is 10 points for the AlphaTauri of Wim, and I believe his teammate obviously across the line as well. His teammate didn't cross the line. In fact, no, his teammate DNS. So Wim picks up 10 points for the AlphaTauris, and then of course RVL picking up 12th place. That's 8 points for RVL, and of course 14th for the Aston Martins, and of course that is 6 points for the Stride Esports team. So of course that is how things are looking in terms of the championships now. The points currently are as it stands before stewards inquiries. I want to bear that in mind. Before stewards inquiries, remember, Fernando could potentially get his 3 second removed. Obviously, it's not going to make a difference in terms of the finishing order for Boo, but if Boo gets his 5 second and Fernando can't get his 3 second removed, Boo jumps up into P2. So you never know with the stewards results, and of course there may be some reports for some of the incidents that went on out there as well that could change the order. But currently, as it stands, it is going to be the PTR team that currently leads the way in the championship. Then we got the Williams of MZ PN in second, and of course ERO currently in third place with RDR in P4 in the standings. And then of course we have the Alfa Romeos of ORT Esports in P5 in the standings. P6 will of course go the way of IRT Academy, and then of course we got the AlphaTauri team of TFR in 7th. 8th we'll have the Haas F1 team, of course being driven by the RVL Esports team. 9th will be the Aston Martins of Stride Esports, and of course 10th is the Red Bulls PAFR, who only field one driver that failed to see the checkered flag. But that is going to bring an end to the action here tonight. I have been Mike. We will catch you next week for round number 2, and we will be going to the Red Bull Ring for round number 2. It is of course Austria next time out. So until then guys, I'll catch you next week. Goodbye.